Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Today I am reviewing Smile, directorial debut from Parker Finn. Currently Smile is sitting at a 75 critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and an 81% audience score. And that's kind of fitting because I think I'm right in the middle. I gave this a 7.7 out of 10. Very, very, very solid movie. I had a ton of fun with it and I had so much fun being terrified throughout this movie. If this is your first video here, show some love, show some support. I also run another channel called Words from the Nerds podcast. You can check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your audio. But today we are talking about movies. We're getting into Smile. If I had to give this movie any criticism, I would really just say to shorten it up a bit. I also feel like there was some really slow points throughout the movie, and they didn't really give you a lot to latch onto, but the last 30 minutes are genuinely terrifying. I also am not the biggest fan of like supernatural-esque horror movies. I don't really like the Paranormal Activity movies, any of like the Nun, the typical demon nun movies that we usually see. I tend to stay away from it. I love movies like Hereditary, The Barbarian. The Barbarian is my favorite horror movie this year, and I was kind of wanting a little bit more of that element in Smile. I still definitely think it's a movie you need to see in theaters. You need to be there with that audience to kind of feel the terror in there. There's a lot of jump scares, some that are kind of minor, but some that are like made my body take a screenshot. And so I can really appreciate that, and I feel like you need to watch that in a theater, or if you're just chilling at home and you want to get a little scare out with you and the fam, or you and your girl or something, I think it's perfect for that as well. The performances were also amazing. I mean, if those performances that these characters had weren't as good, the movie wouldn't have been as scary. It wouldn't have felt believable. But they do an amazing job at putting that terror in their voices, in their faces, and it makes you sit with the feeling a bit. There's also a little bit of funny moments, but not a lot. Overall, the movie is very straightforward, very serious, and hits every single aspect that you're looking for in a movie like this. And it does not waste its time. It's at 2 hours long, but it jumps straight into the point. Right in the first 20 minutes, you're set up with everything you need to know about this movie going forward. I also do think the trailer showed a lot of the movie, which kind of undermines some of the like surprise elements in there. I know one of the shots in particular is whenever the lady comes out of the house and she's wearing pink. Everyone knows it's in the trailer, and she knocks on the window and her head kind of falls over. That scene, if I would have seen that in the movie, that would have been genuinely terrifying, because I remember watching the trailer and being scared from that shot. So I kind of wish some of the stuff in the trailer wasn't shown as much. But then again, there's a lot they left out that made it so much better. I mean, the last 30 minutes are a huge highlight for me, as well as the sound design. There's a whole bunch of clicking and like growling, and it's so unsettling and eerie. Okay, now I'm gonna get into a little bit of details about the movie. So if you're gonna click off now, I say go check out the movie in theaters. It is definitely a special horror movie this year, and one of my favorites for sure. Now I definitely gotta say shout out to Sosie Bacon. Oh my god, she does an amazing job at playing someone that's going through this curse. I mean, to everybody that she talks to, she sounds so insane. So us as an audience, we follow her obviously throughout the movie, but we can also see how easy it is to interpret this as someone just losing their mind. And I think that's perfect because her performance makes it easy to understand why these other characters wouldn't listen to her, because it would be so easy if they did just listen to her. In the whole movie, I think we have two people that take her serious and actually try to understand what she's going through, but that wouldn't work or make sense if she didn't play the character as well as she did. I was also really excited to see Jesse T. Usher in this movie. If you don't know who that is, he plays A-Train in The Boys, and he is a phenomenal actor. And then I was kind of let down that they didn't give him a lot to do. He's only in the movie for a bit. It's a 2 hour movie, and I think he's in the movie for probably a total of 15 minutes. Yet he's supposed to be her husband, and it just kind of doesn't work for me, especially when he's left out as much. Another gripe I had with this movie is throughout the whole hour and a half, up until the last 30 minutes, it's basically this supernatural being that's messing with her. So we don't see any creature or actual being tormenting her. It just takes the face and the body of strangers or people she knows that she's around in the moment and smiles at her. There was some parts where it kind of didn't work for me. As I said in the beginning of this video, I love the movie Barbarian because I just love seeing things that feel believable, not really like a demon nun or a ghost. So for the majority of this movie, that's what it kind of felt like. But then again, if that's for you, you're gonna completely love this movie. But then the last 30 minutes hit and I was in for a ride. I was genuinely terrified. We see the kind of being that's been tormenting her take the role of her mother, and it's like It's like this long, skinny, like 10-foot tall creature, and it has the scariest face. Oh my, I was just it was unsettling. I was terrified. And then it like peels its face off and puts itself inside of her, and you can kind of you get a wide shot of the being on its like all fours crawling inside her through her mouth. It is absolutely insane. And at that moment, I was sold. I just wish we had a little bit more of that throughout the movie. Like, imagine her driving by, or when she saw someone staring at her smiling, like when she's in the hospital room and she's looking down from the window. Imagine if instead of it was that little girl that she had in the beginning, her client, instead it was that 10-foot tall, skinny, horrifying creature staring at her. Like, that would be terrifying. We don't need to see it up close, but if you just put it at a distance looking at her, I would have been sold. This movie would have been an 8.5 out of 10 for me. I would have been completely in love with it, but we didn't get a lot of that. For the first hour and a half, like I said, it feels like a ghost movie, and they even throw the word ghost around a couple times until the end, where we see the process of the being take over the person, making them commit suicide. I could also appreciate seeing her dive into insanity. I mean, seeing her give the dead cat to the little kid at his birthday party was chilling. That was the last thing I expected. Also, who names their cat Mustache? I feel like that's the dumbest cat name or pet name you could give an animal. But for a while, I thought that scene was just all gonna be in her head, and then it wasn't, and you're just left like cringing in your seat, being like, oh, like, why did you do that? But that's the thing, she didn't do that. She had no recollection, and I loved seeing that dive into insanity played by her. Now, I talked about how I love the sound design, and it was phenomenal. I absolutely did like it. It gives you an unsettling feeling. It makes your stomach turn a bit. But there's a couple of scenes in the first 30-ish minutes where the movie goes completely silent, and you can hear her like gulping, or you can hear every little noise. And in horror movies, that usually is to set up a big jump scare, you know, where a big noise happens and a creature comes out of nowhere or a ghost comes out of nowhere. So you're set tensing up. You're waiting for that jump scare to come. And yeah, there were a little bit, it was just like a phone ringing or maybe like something falling. So it wasn't a major jump scare. So you kind of get used to those quiet moments being interrupted by a minor jump scare. And I think that's perfect because then there's one scene after all of those little jump scares that aren't as scary. There's one scene where the music goes quiet again, and you're just expecting a little jump scare or nothing to happen at all, because that's what's been happening the first 30 to 40 minutes of the movie. And then her client's face comes out of nowhere screaming, and it is a huge jump scare. And that moment got me so bad. But it wouldn't have got me as bad if they didn't set it up the way they did in the beginning of the movie. So I can very much appreciate that and all the little details throughout that set up the horror that this movie brings. So overall, I had an amazing time with it. I think you should definitely check it out in theaters. It was such a fun movie. The last 30 minutes, I will not stress enough, are genuinely terrifying. Definitely an amazing way to start off October. We're probably going to get a ton of horror movies coming this month. I mean, I watched The Barbarian, and if you haven't, I think you should definitely check out that movie. It still stands as my favorite horror movie this year, but Smile was damn good as well. What did you think about Smile? Let me know in the comments. Are you going to check it out? Did you agree with me? Did you not agree with me? Let me know in the comments. And without further ado, that's my review. Thank you. Peace.